Utilities Advisory Commission meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to take a roll call. We have Commissioner Bryce, Augustine, and Commissioner Williams, and myself, so we do have a quorum. And as I see, there's no members of the public here, so we'll go on to the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. Are there any items any members of the commission would like removed from the consent agenda? I would like to remove the minutes, seeing that's the only thing on the agenda.
Okay.
I have two items on the minutes. The first one being the call to order. It says the meeting was called to order by Commissioner Bryce Augustine instead of myself. And then under old business, no, actually, I'm sorry, it's under new business. The very last paragraph where it says, Commissioner Augustine asked if the numbers could be gone over again in the future when trucks are being discussed again. I think you might have intended that the purchase of a vehicle, the numbers for the purchase of a vehicle as opposed to the lease amount.
No, they are leased.
I know, but you said you asked if the numbers could be gone over again in the future.
So,
Purchase or a lease. You wanted to know
well,
those numbers.
right, so next time we needed a vehicle, I had asked Gons to run the numbers against purchasing versus leasing.
Right. And so I was wondering if we could put that in that line saying purchase or lease. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is any other discussion on that matter? Then I'd like to, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda, the amended minutes in the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll move on to new business. Consider a recommendation to City Council to make changes to backflow compliance. We have a staff presentation.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. This item, I think I mentioned it back late last year that I wanted to propose something about the backflow testing because we usually don't get enough compliance by that time that is due. So some background is KSA 65-171Y, the states basically that any lawn irrigation system which is not used for application of fertilizers, pesticides, or other chemicals should not be deemed to be a high hazard water system and should not be required to be equipped with a high hazard backflow prevention system. So basically all the lawn irrigation are not considered a high hazard. Then it states that any such lawn irrigation system installed, renovated, replaced, or extended on or after July 1st, 1994 shall have at least a low hazard double check valve assembly as a minimum level of backflow protection. So this is what we currently have with most irrigation systems. Then it states that the city can impose additional requirements. Then under the Municipal Code, Chapter 1310, Water Regulations, 1310-100, protective backflow preventers required. It says that approved devices to protect against backflow or back siphonage shall be installed at all fixtures and equipments where backflow or back siphonage may occur and where there is a hazard of contamination of the potable water system. So this is why we have so any new homes with irrigation and commercial, they have to install a backflow prevention device. And further on, it says 1310-120, protection from contaminants pursuant to the authority given under the home rule powers of KCA 65-63A. The city of Gardner may refuse to deliver water to any premises where a condition exists that might lead to the contamination of the public water and may continue to refuse to deliver water until condition is corrected to the satisfaction of the city. In addition, the city may immediately terminate water service to a premise where backflow or back siphonage condition exists, which may be hazardous to the health of customers served by the public water system of City of Gardner. So that's the reason why we do a annual inspection or test to make sure that there's no possibility of contamination. Any questions so far? Okay.
So, do we know how many fail?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
So the city compliant process, that was started, I believe, around 2010. I believe, I'm not sure, but it was about that period. So every year the city mails letters to remind residents and commercial customers of the annual backflow prevention device test. The reminder is also posted in the Gardner website and also on the quarterly newsletter. On the table below, you will see that the response on the first letter is 30% residential, 20% commercial. Second letter, which is sent prior to the deadline of July 1st, you get 40% and 30%. Third letter, you're 20 and 25. On the fourth letter, you usually get all the residential, and there's usually 25% of residential, the commercial that don't comply with the testing. So I'll give you a little background to the letter that Mr. Adam Cox sent by email. A similar letter was sent to City Councilman Rich Melton back in 2018, where Mr. Cox had the same concerns and recommendations. At that time, we contacted about 6-7 cities that included Olathe, Lenexa, Shawnee, Overland Park, I don't remember the other one, but we contacted Water 1 and Water 7. Of the cities that I mentioned, they had a testing requirement. Water 7, they did not enforce the testing due to lack of manpower. And Water 1 said it was up to the cities to enforce it. That was 2018. So after we received Mr. Cox's letter, we went ahead and contacted the cities again. And some cities use a service that is called Aqua Backflow, that they basically do they actually run the program for a city. One of the cities is Olathe. So we talked with them, and they said that the tendency is not to enforce the testing of residential customers. So most of the cities have stopped doing that, but they enforce it on the commercial customers.
In Olathe.
She said 150 cities they actually serve, they are usually commercial only.
Oh, okay.
One city that doesn't do anything is Spring Hill. They don't enforce residential nor commercial. So based on that information, I had to revise the staff report, and I added a fourth recommendation. But if I go to the original staff report I wrote, one of the alternatives was to, after the deadline have passed, the city personnel will perform the testing. We have qualified workers, maintenance workers and operators that can perform the test. So the idea was, if a customer fails to do the test before July 1st, we will do the test and then charge them $75 with the intent to have it done, and I thought that would be a way of enforcing. The second one was to establish a $75 fee for non-compliance and a $25 penalty for each additional month of non-compliance. Or shut off the water servers, charge a $75 penalty fee plus a $15 reconnection fee. After we received the letter from Mr. Cox, we went and did additional due diligence. So the fourth alternative would be not to require residential customers to perform the annual backflow prevention device test. The reason for that is under the KCA 17571Y, the lawn irrigation is considered a low hazard. Potential hazard is pretty low. So that's where that recommendation, plus the tendency of other cities going to not enforcing it on the residential customers. Then on the commercial, one of the alternative was to, after the deadline has passed, issue a citation, charge $75 per device on the utility bill. Or shut off water service, charge $75 penalty fee, plus a $15 reconnection fee. The other thing I would like to recommend is, instead of having a July 1st deadline, move it up to June 1st. Because the tendency is that most customers that have irrigation system, they'll start using it around May, June. So having a deadline on July 1st is a little too late. Or maybe it's at this point doesn't make any difference if you go with option 4. But for the commercial, we will need to push it up to June 1st so we have more people comply. So what we're recommending is implementing option 4 for the residential and option 2 for commercial customers. The option 1 for commercial, after talking with Amy Foster, a citation implies many legal consequences. For example, if for some reason the person doesn't show for the citation, a warrant can be issued for his or her arrest. And I think that was not the spirit of doing that. So I was not, the staff is not recommending that option. The shadow seems a more applicable way to go. So with that, if you have any questions, or if you want to discuss this further.
I couldn't hear very well, so I may be asking you redundant questions.
Go ahead, no
But
problem.
Did we find a lot of backflow preventer valves that had failed or not?
So last year, Aaron said out of the 1,275 devices, there were 3 that failed. I don't know the details if they were there for 10 years, 20 years, or they were recently installed. But the percentage of failing is fairly low. Extremely low, I will say. 3 out of, let's say 1,200.
There is no state or federal law that makes us test these, right?
There is no state or federal that makes the seed test. However, the backflow devices should be in such a way that we can do a test or inspection. It cannot be something that is sealed. It has to be, we should be able to, or somebody inspect it. But there is no state law that we need to do an annual test, as far as I can see.
What would be the situation where you would go and test?
Excuse me?
What would be the situation or the case in which you would go and test? If something specific happened that would make you go out and test a certain location?
That what I'm recommending, nothing on residential. But if they have, let's say, if somebody installs a irrigation system, they will need to put a backflow preventer. But again, we can say you can do inspection every 5 years, 10 years. So the likelihood to me of contaminating the water system is low, but
You had mentioned something about 1,200 residential?
no, 730, the numbers are here, sorry.
Oh, okay, I thought you-
787 residential and commercial 232.
Okay. I thought you had said 1,200. I was wondering what the difference in the numbers were.
And those numbers don't include city or the school system.
Are they tested?
They're tested, yeah.
Okay, all right.
But the city, we will do it anyway. We do it every year, so. And the school also, they do the testing annually.
So I personally like residential option 4. We're not required by some state to do that. I always thought it was kind of silly myself, but I understand the concept, but doubtful as brickler is going to suck in very much soil or whatever chemicals from along. But that's just my opinion. On the other hand, commercial, I hate to turn somebody's water off. That could be very disruptive to the business.
One way to prevent that is to do the test in a timely manner.
That's the idea, right?
Correct.
Bring them into compliance.
And the reason I'm saying commercial is they usually have bigger meters, so they have more flow, so the probability of contaminating is a lot greater. Plus some commercial, like restaurant, they have a fountain for soft drinks, so that also requires a backflow because you can, in theory, contaminate the water supply.
So the preponderance of these 230-something are restaurants probably?
Well, that includes restaurants, stores, Walmart,
Churches?
churches, anyone that has an irrigation system.
What was the name of that company or the software that?
Aqua backflow.
Aqua Backflow. And that somehow monitors?
They actually do instead of the actual, like, for example, us sending letters, you pay them a fee or they charge you to the actual customer and they'll do the whole thing. They will send the letters, second letters. If they're not compliant, then they'll contact the utilities department for shut off or whatever enforcement we have.
So like Olathe is paying them, but that contract with Aqua, sorry.
Correct. There's a contract with them for doing the actual
Commercial only though.
commercial only. Yes, sir.
Okay. So it doesn't change the need for someone to go out and physically check to make sure that everything is functional. It's not some digital monitoring, it's just we're bringing in a third party to help facilitate all the calls and letters.
Yes.
Okay.
For commercial only.
For commercial only, right?
And we just got a proposal from them, but I need to analyze the proposal
Sure.
before I can. But it's gonna be roughly about $5,000.
That cost to the city?
Like I say, I just got the proposal this afternoon, but they're saying that the actual plumber will pay a fee of $10 per device, so they can enter the information into their software. So they'll have all the information in a database. So the burden is on the plumber or the customer, not on the city.
So would you have an estimate or an average cost of how much a commercial customer would pay to have his backflow tested?
I think we asked some plumbers, and it ranges between, I want to say, $50 and can go as high as $80.
$80?
50 to 80.
So.
Some are local, some come all the way from
then I
Kansas
think
City.
$75 penalty fee is appropriate, because if it only costs them $50, they would rather have it tested than pay the $75 fee.
That was the reasoning behind the 75.
Okay.
I have a backflow permit at my house, and it cost me $50
At residential also,
as a residential.
okay,
Well, it's their time.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I've never done a commercial, but I can't imagine it'd be a lot different, it's just bigger. I mean, they don't take anything apart, they just attach their instruments to each side of the valve and put pressure on it, see if it backs up and if it leaks through, if it doesn't.
So if we were to go with residential option number 4, would you be doing any kind of follow-up with the residents at all?
That was not the intent.
Okay,
Otherwise, you will start the program again.
right, okay,
The other thing that I was thinking driving here is maybe after so many years, they should replace the backflow. But then we have to keep track when the backflow was put in and then send a letter, hey, your 10 years is up. so you need to replace it, so.
Might be better for them to prove to you if it was 10 years more or less, you know, at that time. Is there any more discussion?
Average of 3 fails a year? Or
That
3
was-
fails since we've started the program?
I would say in the last year, it was maybe like 3 to 5, something like that.
I mean, really low number.
Very,
I just,
very low, and that's just what was reported to me that I would see. So it's pretty low. But yeah, I'd say per year there's several that do, and I try to watch out for it on the form. Try to, because they mark fail, pass or fail, so I try to watch for it. So, and I might, and when I see that it's failed, then what I do is I contact the tester and say, what's your plan going forward? Are you gonna get it retested, or is it
Yeah.
going to be replaced? So.
I don't know. I don't have an irrigation system, right? So I have no skin in the game. I don't know that I don't like the systems never being tested. I don't know. But I can see where once a year is a pain. Overkill, maybe, I don't know.
Well, what,
It's what, 50, call it $100, right? Ooh, that was loud. So $100 a year.
Commercial?
No, I'm residential,
Oh.
right? I'm spitballing here. I'm
Yeah,
talking, I don't
It
know.
costs me $50 a year.
$50 a year.
But let's, what if it failed? What's gonna happen? You have to have the backflow preventer fail and a major water problem that's sucking water, water tower collapse. Somebody dug into a main or something so you have to have 2 events.
Double
Has to be a
contingency.
Major, right?
A double contingency, yes, sir.
Pardon?
A double contingency. Something failed, the backflow fails, and then somebody hits the water main and causes back pressure or something, yeah.
Pressure to be reversed. So you gotta have 2 events that happen. And for residential, what's the, what is the worst catastrophe that happen? It would almost have to be as somebody was applying chemicals to the lawn. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like the risk of contaminating the system, it's there, but it's really, really low. That's my opinion. Now, some commercial processes and whatnot, I can see that, although I'm still reluctant to just turn the water off if they didn't see the notice or it didn't get delivered or something, that would cause a lot of disruptions and could be
Yeah.
big dollars if it happened at the right time.
So are we, on the commercial, right, are we sending them letters before we turn off their water?
That's handled by utility billing, but the way it's done, they'll send a notice saying, by such a date, if you don't pay your bill or you don't perform the test, your water will be shut off. So there's ample warning prior to the actual shut off.
Okay.
I noticed in the letters that you sent out that it did say that their water would be shut off in September, but that never happened, is that correct?
The things that we've been here, it maybe happened once back in 2018.
Oh, okay.
But again, shutting the water in September 1st if your system was not working properly,
Right.
you already contaminated the water
Yeah.
supply, so it's irrelevant really by September first.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why I'm saying I would like to move it up to June 1st. Hopefully we'll get things done before. That's just a recommendation.
So do we have a motion? Are there any other questions?
I'll buy it.
Well, would not on commercial option one, would not the $75 citation accomplish the same thing? Without, I mean, you're gonna have $90, but worst of all, you're gonna make the customer mad, because, if you just not shut their water off, and, I mean, I just don't, I think we should do
I
that
don't-
without adequate warning.
Well, they'll get adequate warning, right?
They'll have a same, we'll send them a second letter. Then they will get the same letters we've been sending. But then if they don't do the test by the deadline, then they'll get a notice saying, we'll be shutting off your water. Even we've worked with a lot of the customers that we give them a deadline, they will call in and say, Aaron, I have my plumber here, can give me a few hours until tomorrow. Say, yeah, we can give him to tomorrow, as long as he's getting done. So we have a lot of flexibility.
So is that a second?
I don't know that we had a first officially. I think we have to use the proper verbs. So. I'll make a motion for residential option 4 and commercial option 2.
And changing the date.
Yes, changing the date to June 1st.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you. The second new business, this is a ongoing process, but the Hills of Water Treatment Plant has a pond. So we have filters and we have a clarifier. So on the clarifier, the purpose of the clarifier is to get any solids, suspended solids, to go to the bottom of the clarifier. And with the filters, it will take any solids also from the water. So there's a process called backwash. So the filters are backwashed to get all those solids out of the filter. In the clear well, there's like a drain that goes with the solids. So everything is sent to this pond that is shown on the picture. Prior to the expansion, we used to have 2 ponds also, and we used to go ahead and clean a pond, alternate the ponds. One year, the second pond will be done the following year. So this is a reoccurring process. Even with a new plan, we have 2 ponds, so one has to be cleaned every year. So we posted a solicit bids for the cleanup of these ponds. We got 4 responses, and the Nelly Water Solution was the low bid. They have done previous work for the city. So we're recommending Denali Water Solutions to perform the clean out for the next 4 years. Starting in 2022.
Is there any, anything additional that the other bids are offering that Denali is not? I mean, it's quite a big difference between them.
Well, NutriJect Systems, they did a pond clean out I think 2 years ago, and the price was less than $80,000. So they went up considerably. Then maybe the method or taking the solids from the pond is the difference.
Okay.
But the actual work is to remove the solids and leave a clean pond.
Right.
If you do it by using a pump, drying out the pond and use some kind of heavy equipment to remove the solids. I mean, there's various ways.
Okay.
They're all bidding on exactly the same scope of work.
The method
Right, I
of getting
just-
it out might be
I mean-
different.
Such a big
Yeah.
difference.
Right, it is such a big difference. That's why I'm like, in my mind, it's the same scope of work, but
Maybe Denali is from local, and I cannot answer that. But I know NutriJet, they're out of, I think, Iowa. So they have to mobilize to Kansas. Maybe that's a factor, I'm not sure.
Denali has been doing the cleaning for a while.
They did it one time. NutriJect did it twice. The other companies they're new.
Okay.
Was this expense anticipated when you were, before the completion of the Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant?
Yes, prior to, like I mentioned, prior to the expansion, we used to have 2 ponds. They were smaller, so we used to spend about, I think, $40,000 to $50,000 a year. These are new, bigger ponds, so we're estimating about $80,000. So like I mentioned, the expense is an annual expense. And it was anticipated.
So I guess all this amount then has been budgeted, then if you had.
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any more discussion? Or questions?
I'll make a motion.
Entertain a
Motion to approve business item 2, to give the contract to Denali Water Solutions for the Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant. Can you read the whole thing?
Would you please?
Sure. All right, I'll make a motion to consider a recommendation to City Council to award a contract to Denali Water Solutions for the Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant Waste and Residual Basin Cleanout 2022 through 2025 contract. In the amount of $64,850 a year,
Oh, yeah.
right? For a total of $259,850.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item is a discussion item, It has to do with implementing a standard electric distribution reliability indices report. So this year, we apply for a certification for the electric distribution through the APPA, that's American Public Power Association. So you have to answer questions and provide documentation, and they'll give you a score. In order to get a certification, you need to be above 80 points. We only got 76, so we're 4 points short. But we know where our deficiencies were, and we'll be applying again during the summer for the certification. So basically, you get a certification saying that your electric distribution is a reliable power, and you're among various cities throughout the U.S. So that's where I learned about this standard. So the IEEE, that's the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, better known as IEEE, developed a standard 1366 back in the 90s, late 90s. And the reason was to facilitate uniformity in the distribution service reliability parameters. So it's a way of comparing, let's say, Gardner to, let me see another city that produces, Ottawa or City of Baldwin or other cities in another states. So you can say, how am I doing compared to the rest of the cities? So this is a standard that is used by the APP for certification. So there's 12 reliability indices, and we're recommending 5 that we can use on a monthly basis. The first one is System Average Interruption Frequency Index, known as SAIFI, which is how often the average customer experiences an interruption. So how many interruptions you have per customer. The second one is System Average Interruption Duration Index. That's called SID, defined as the total number of minutes of interruption experienced by the average customer. We track those two in a different manner, and you will see it on the report. Customer average interruption duration, which is the average time required to restore service. We also track that in a different manner. Momentary average interruption frequency index, MIFI, indicates the average frequency of momentary interruptions events. So for example, you probably won't notice it, but you can get a fault on the line and the breaker is gonna open and close it in less than 1 second. So you get a flicker.
I was wondering what that was.
So when that happens, that is considered a momentary interruption. And the fifth is called the Average Service Availability Index, ASAI, represent the fraction of time, often in percentage, that a customer has received power during the defined reporting period. So when we implemented the smart meter project, this reporting is available, and we calculate those 5 parameters. On the next page, you will see the report that was generated for 2021. since we were in a implementation phase in 2021, some of those events were, I will say, they were not actual events. But you will see for example, for the CIDE, which is minutes per year, we get an average of 107 minutes. For the CIDE minutes per year also, we got 230 minutes. For the SI, we got 99.98%. The MAFI was 0.00012 minutes, and the SIFI was 0.9889%. So I provided another sheet with what each parameter is in a little more detail. So it'll be a matter of getting familiar with this terminology, but I think it's a way to start recording our outages. And also we can do a benchmark with other cities, which currently we cannot do that because we're doing our own thing. Any questions?
So is there a cost to get this certification?
No, ma'am. Oh, the certification, yes. To get this, no, that's part of the smart meter project.
To get the certification?
It is $290.
Oh, okay. And the benefit of the certification is just to benchmark your performance with other cities?
The benefit is that you will be a city that provides reliable power, and you're recognized for that service and for providing exceptional service. That's what that certification means. Finance has something similar for best finance practices or accounting practice. They have a certification they get every year also. So the intent is to recognize the reliable service and response we have in Gardner. But the reliability indices is that's part of the smart meter software. So we'll get it if we use it or not. I just want to start using it so we can keep track.
Is there a expiration on the certification?
I think it's 5 years.
5 years.
This helps when you're reporting for the power pool or not? Or do they care?
Not sure.
He doesn't know because he's not in the secret club because we don't have the certification yet.
But let's say that you provide Gardner, we're limited for within Gardner. We cannot go outside Gardner. But let's say you have a municipality that can provide services to other cities. And then you have to compete with other providers. So by having the certification, that will help you saying, hey, I'm certified by the APPA as having very reliable power.
And we have the technical capacity to do it already with the smart meter.
Right.
Correct.
So
So it's an added piece of information.
Okay, so what you're telling us, these are the new terms that we're gonna use when we talk about outages?
Reliability outages. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
So we don't need a motion for this, you're just gonna implement it? right?
Correct. Unless you don't want to.
I think it's great, I think it's a great
Uh,
index.
Yeah, so we pulled, what, 5 of these out of 12?
Yep.
Is that what it was? What are any of the other matrices, are they anything useful, or like why did we decide not to talk about those ones?
Actually, the software, which is Echo One, reports these 5 parameters. I think there's, like I said, there's 12, but I think this is more in line to what we used to report before. But the way it's reporting is different.
Right, that makes sense. I guess I may go look. I don't know. I'm curious what the other 7. Is that right?
Oh, I can provide you the information.
Yeah, if you could, I'd be interested.
It's
in
about
at
30
least
pages, but yeah.
see-
I'll-
Hey,
Oh,
you know,
my.
I always love a good
There you go.
certification read.
So-
Is there a similar program for water?
So, based on this that we're doing for the electric, there are standards through the American Water Works Association. And they have similar parameters for water and wastewater.
We'll see that later.
So we're currently looking at what parameters to use so we can compare the city with other cities and see how well we're performing.
Yeah. Be good.
Be excellent.
Ready for a vote?
I don't think we need a motion.
No, no.
It was just a discussion item.
Okay.
Oh, and another thing, on the 2021 reliability report, there's also a pie chart with the root cause that involves, again, trees, animals, storms, the same type of causes. So the 2021 fourth quarter electrical outage report. We have 15 outages affecting 233 customers. One caused by electric equipment failure, one caused by trees, 5 by animals, 1 by storms, 2 caused by damage by others, and 5 caused by other reasons. The average workday response was 17 minutes, and the length of the outage 34. The after hours response time was 27, and the average after hours length of the outage 1 hour and 36 minutes. The total response time, the average 22 minutes, and the length of the outage 1 hour and 7 minutes. So instead of reporting this, I will be reusing the other parameters, unless you want to see this also.
I was just gonna ask, at least for like, you know, the next time, if we could see the information in both formats, just to try to connect all the dots together.
Excellent suggestion, I agree, that'd be good.
Sorry to ask.
And like I mentioned, the IEEE standards report on response time, repair time, the outage length, so it's just a different way of looking at the same information.
And also I would like to see every time your goal and your target, if it changes any.
So we'll be doing that as we advance in the year based on the actual values, and we can adjust the targets accordingly. But based on what I saw from last year, that's how I set up those targets, that I think they're doable. Any questions on the electric outage? That's the same information but in a pie chart. This is comparing the last 3 years. 2019, we had 61 outages. 2020, 56. Last year, 58. And you will see the events increased in 2021. mainly squirrels. On the wastewater collection repair report, we had 4 events that affected 4 customers. 3 were due to resident issues, 1 due to other issue. The average workday response time was 16 minutes, and the average workday repair time was 8 hours and 58 minutes. The average after-hours response time was 15 minutes, and the repair time 1 hour and 5 minutes. Overall, 16 minutes to respond, and repair time was 7 hours. Let me see on the other. Any questions? Water collection, we had 4 water distribution repairs affecting 2 customers. This doesn't look right. 3 due to resident issues and 1 due to other issues. The average,
It was the same, and I was worried that, sorry to interrupt, but I was worried that I made a mistake, but it was the same.
no, I said you can have a repair, service repair that affects no customers too.
Okay.
So say 2, you have 4, but that's why. You can have something that doesn't affect the customer. The average workday response time was 15 minutes and the repair time 1 hour. After hours, 23 minutes response time and the repair time 1 hour and 18 minutes. Overall average response times was 17 and the average repair time 1 hour and 5 minutes. That shows the detail of the events. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for staff?
No, I don't think.
Okay, we'll move on to other business. Do you have any questions on other business? I have a question. You said, the last meeting that you might be rolling out the IntelliHome application. Was there a holdup on that?
So when I sent the information how to log in into the Intella, they have made changes. So if you were using your IntelliHome login, you can log in, but you won't see any information. Because the account number used to put the first 5 digits. Now you have to put I think they're like 10 digits. So if you put your first 5 digits, it won't recognize the user. So we talked to NextGrid on Monday, and they're gonna fix that problem. Because I've been logging in, I don't see anything. There's no meters, don't have anything. So there was a problem with the setup, and the ones that were registered prior to the actual change, you will gain access in the next couple of, hopefully in the next week, you will have access to your information. So once that is fixed, we will send out the mailers to the customers telling them how to log in.
Do you think that'll happen in March?
I'm hoping so. we have everything to go. So there was a we were hesitant to send the mailers with the information, then you'll be getting like several hundred phone calls. It
Yes.
doesn't work. So we wanted to have the software fixed before sending the actual mailers. But everything is ready to go.
Well, that's good news. Were you able to get the 40 meters installed?
I think we're down to about 20 meters now that needs replacement.
Part of the beauty of this system was your ability to tell from some kind of announcer board in service center or someplace how big the outage was, correct?
Correct.
Has that been implemented?
That's part of the those parameters. So the IEEE 1366 uses those information from the outage reporting or the actual events to calculate those parameters. So right now you will get an alert when you have a meter going out of service or if you have a circuit going out of service. And it will pinpoint in the map where is the actual location of the outage.
So it'll indicate which meters are.
Yes, sir. And that's we're using it. We have been using it since June of last year. So to answer your question, yes, we have that capability right now. So you can get what happens, you get an outage, I usually get a alarm, an alert saying you have an outage. You access the report through my iPhone and it'll tell you where the outage is. And electric distribution, the manager and the lineman has that access also. So they can respond a lot sooner.
Well, with that reliability, you should get your certification pretty soon, huh?
There were some other issues that we didn't have documentation, but hopefully we'll get it before the next time we apply.
Have you received a report on the smoke testing for this CIPP project?
No, we're gonna be doing, which one?
The smoke testing or the CCTV inspections? They did they went and did a testing?
They
You
did
were gonna get a
two,
report?
correct, we did 2 areas and one was by Conestoga, I believe, and the other one was south by 183rd. The smoke testing did not give us any information that will tell us we have a problem.
Oh, really?
So that indicates that your private I&I is not that significant. So the problem may be on the public side, which is your sanitary sewer lines. Now, the person that was doing that work, he left the city, so we're looking for replacement. So that's gonna be on hold until we get somebody else that can pick up that.
So that you can find out on the residential side where the problem
Yes.
is? So you're waiting for,
First, we need rain,
Personnel.
so we'll be putting flow monitors. And that will happen hopefully next month, April, that is the rainy season.
okay.
And the repairs done with the ICPP will be putting monitors again during the spring to see the effectiveness of the treatment. We sent a citation to the businesses that were delinquent. And I think we're down to, I want to say 10 out of the 22.
Oh, my goodness.
And the citation went out, I think 2 weeks ago. There's a lot
It
of,
was the actual citation.
there's a lot of the business that came the same day with their check and the application.
So what is the time limit? Is there a time limit for them to get it done, or?
I think some of them have been cited for June, some in July, and some in August. So they have ample time to comply before they have to go to court. And they're actually responding to the request.
So, you've developed an enforcement policy,
Correct.
which you didn't have before. Wonderful.
Yeah, but we're dealing with 22 customers, not a couple hundred.
Right. But, I mean, only having 10 done, or 10 to go, right?
Left
That's still, what, about 50%? That's
Yes.
high,
in about 2 weeks, yep.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you have an enforcement policy for that. I'm happy to hear that. That's all I have. Oh, I was really happy to see this come out.
Oh, the newsletter?
Yeah, understanding your electric costs. I thought that was very informative. Winter 2021-22. I'm not sure exactly when it came out, maybe a couple of months ago?
Talking about December.
Yeah, it might have been in December.
The next one is coming out in March, I believe.
And you were going to employ intermittent utility shutoffs during cold weather. Did you have to do any of those?
That's handled by Amy, but we haven't done it
Okay,
because of the temperatures.
okay. So you didn't have any?
No, none.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
I used to have to do that.
Oh, you did?
It's not a fun thing to do.
I would imagine it would be.
Bet not.
Is there any other questions for staff?
I did not have any additional tonight.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.